Today isn't really going to be no story times. This one's going to be a lesson for the kids that are about to get super addicted to weed, okay? This video isn't really going to be going over the pros and cons of weed. It's really just going to be going over how you really should try your best to not become dependent on it. And what I mean by that is try not to become one of these guys who are literally like sitting at their crib all day, literally doing nothing but smoking weed on their couch all day and like just eating food, bro. Like not going outside, all that shit. Like, bro, if that's you stick around because I'm going to be having a video all about T-breaks coming out soon. But it can turn into a very vicious cycle very quickly. That's going to leave your ass broke in the long term. As in with every other substance, there's a tolerance level to it. So if you smoke enough weed, you're not going to get the same amount of high as you used to as the same amount of quantity. You know what I'm saying? That's just obvious. So it turns into a very vicious cycle where people spend more and more of their bread getting more and more weed just to get the same amount of high. And at that point, they become dependent on it. Like, they can't function without it. Like, they could be at work. They could be going into public. They can be going anywhere to their club, sport, martial arts, whatever the fuck it is, bro. And, like, just can't function without the grass in their system before they go. That's a real thing. And when it gets to that point, there's a real chance that you're probably going to be just smoking for the rest of your life at that point. Because trying to quit at that point is brutal, all right? I don't blame people for, like, not quitting because of withdrawals, all right? But what I do admire is the people that still end up quitting even because of the withdrawals, okay? I have quit weed twice in my life, okay? This is, like, the third time I've gotten back into it. And let me tell you something. Every time I do, it's like the weed always tells me when it's time to give it up again. Like, I'll start to forget things. I'll start to feel drowsy. I'll start to feel unmotivated. I'll feel like the weed is just tearing me down. And when I give it up for a couple weeks, a couple days even, maybe a couple months, it really just depends on what I'm feeling. But always at the end of the day, though, whenever I come back to it, it always just kind of works out in the end, all right? It's kind of like an on and off relationship with the grass, and I kind of like it like that. But if you made it this far into the video, then obviously I'm assuming you're just going to want my advice. So here it is. Me personally, I don't think you should be high all the time. Why? I think there's moments in your life where you need sobriety. Like, bro, if you're trying to be high all the time, here's 2 reasons why, all right? Either one, you're trying to follow my advice at the end of each video now, which is stay elevated, or you're running from something, okay? Those are the only 2 reasons why, unless you're, like, in love with the grass as much as I am, all right? Which many people are. But for those people who are just smoking just to try to hide from whatever shitty life they have or whatever, that's not going to fix it. Actually, it's probably going to make the problem worse if it wasn't evident already. It's going to make things 10 times worse because what weed does, it's convenient because it separates you from the rest of the world if you let it. Weed allows you to harness in on whatever it is you're trying to focus on at the moment. Take jiu-jitsu, for example. If you're trying to do moves out on a floor, like on a dojo mat or whatever, you're going to be harnessed in. You're going to be focused as fuck if you're going out there high rather than just sober. Both kind of really do the same thing. I don't really think getting high before like a class is really giving you any benefit. All I'm saying is it just harnesses in your focus. But that's a really good tool if you're trying to forget something that's going on in your life. And that can be beneficial for people for a period of time in their life. I'm not saying that it shouldn't be used like at all. I'm not like a fucking like weed smoker that's going to be against pot. Like, that makes no fucking sense. I love how I don't script these videos, so I get to, like, swear in them and basically say whatever the fuck I want, so that's cool, too. I have made scripted videos in the past, but, you know, this is the authentic me, and you're gonna get the authentic, real me advice. So, here's my real authentic advice for you. Don't be high all the time. It's not healthy for your brain. You're gonna turn into a oofy doofy goofus, man. All seriousness, though, you just begin to lose yourself after a while. If you're not careful, you will go down a complete rabbit hole. What I've noticed is a lot of people just eventually realize that nothing is as fun as smoking the grass, okay? And then they eventually start moving on to higher and higher things. Now, that doesn't always happen, but most of the time, you graduate. See this happen in real time. It's like people forget their responsibilities after a while. and they start to get complacent in their situation, because what the green does is it makes every time you're bored a lot more fucking fun, alright? That's why you see so many people using it, and that's why you see so many people who aren't content with their lives using it. Biggest takeaway from this video, just don't be high all the time, alright? Take some breaks, be sober a little bit, and then come back to the weed, alright? Because weed is a really beneficial medicine if used correctly, as I said before. From what I've learned, boredom is actually a good thing that you go through. When you feel bored, it's basically your body telling you to go learn something new. Stop being a lazy ass and smoking your boredom away. Just sitting there imagining what you would be doing if you weren't smoking right now. I know that cycle is kind of hard to get out of as soon as you're in it, but the urges are fucking real. But if you took 2 weeks, you'd realize how clear your head is. I could sit here all day and go over the pros and cons, but here's my conclusion. The green will steal your soul if you let it. It's not going to make you go out and kill a whole family of 4, but it definitely will make you sit on your ass for 4 days thinking about what went wrong. And during your YouTube binge, you stumbled across me. If you want some concrete advice on how to resist the urges, just stay busy. It could really just be anything, just as long as you're not being unproductive anymore, alright?
Listen, if you've never had an addiction to anything like alcohol, weed, nicotine, video games, porn, eating, if you've never had an addiction at all in your entire life, consider yourself one of the lucky ones.
And if you decide to climb a random skyscraper in your city, spark a joint up there. Stay elevated.